All right. Citizens participation. Lexington County School District One's Board of Trustees solicits the advice and counsel of its citizens. To encourage this participation, the board provides a citizens participation period during board meetings. In order to speak, you must be the parent or legal guardian of a student currently attending a Lexington District 1 school, a taxpayer residing in the Lexington District 1 attendance area, an employee of the district, or a student currently attending a Lexington District 1 school. You may comment on agenda items, school operations, policies, programs, or other matters. You may not speak about specific individuals, whether students or staff. We want to remind you that this meeting is being live streamed and that the recording of this meeting will be part of the public record in perpetuity. We want to give everyone who came tonight an opportunity to speak, and in order to do that, I will call on each speaker by name and ask you to approach the lectern at the back of the room. The board will not reply to your remarks nor take any action during the board meeting in response to your comments or questions. You may address the board for up to 3 minutes. If you have any handouts you would like the board to review, please give them to Ms. Halliday in the back of the room and she will distribute them. Please do not clap or make any comments either while an individual speaks or after he or she finishes. As you came in tonight, you received a card to fill out to indicate you wanted to speak. That card asks for your name, address, and other information. However, I will read only your name, the town you reside in, and the name of the schools your children attend when it is your turn to speak. If you are unable to attend the evening meetings or are uncomfortable addressing the board in person, you may reach out to the board by email, telephone, or mail, and our contact information is available on the Lexington One website. We welcome all messages. All right. First this evening, we have Miss Katherine Carter Jeffcoat. She lives in Lexington and has students at Gilbert Elementary School.
Remember your first action as a board member, taking your oath of office. You raised your right hand and placed your other hand on the Bible and said, "I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified according to the Constitution of this state to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been elected, and that I will, to the best of my ability, discharge the duties thereof to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of this state and of the United States, so help me God." Two things afforded to Americans through the United States Constitution that you swore to defend are the freedom of speech and the right to petition our government. Since I have been attending board meetings, I have witnessed this board violate citizens' right to speak freely by cutting their mics and telling them to sit down before their comment time is over. Not only do most of you sit silent, one of you even spoke over the chairwoman and instructed district staff to turn off the mic. Case law regarding freedom of speech violations during public comment, especially during school board meetings, is not hard to find. Federal courts have consistently upheld the rights of citizens to speak freely during public forums. So much so that courts have ruled against school boards, requiring them to pay anywhere from $12,000 to $900,000 per case. There have been several cases where federal courts have ruled a school district's policy unconstitutional when it forbids a citizen from airing grievances about the superintendent and the district executives. I'll send these cases to you all. Allowing citizens to speak when their beliefs align with yours, but silencing them when you disagree is reprehensible, fiscally irresponsible, and opens our district up to lawsuits. More importantly, it destroys public trust. When something as egregious as violating a citizen's freedom of speech is occurring in our public meetings, especially when those violations are because this board is uncomfortable with the content of that speech, it only begs the question, what other laws are being ignored by this district while the board sits silent? Financial transparency is lacking when documents such as contracts, proposals, and board reports are not available for public review, and board members must take their requests for documents to the Attorney General for an opinion. Board packets are not available to the public, therefore the public has no idea what is actually being voted on during meetings when it comes to policy revisions, board resolutions, or official letters sent to other agencies from this board. District policies are vague and inconsistent, and oftentimes emails and phone calls to the board are not returned. State and federal laws are not followed even when the district is made aware of the non-compliance. The chain of command stops at the superintendent because most parents are not even aware that there is a higher entity that answers directly to them. 7 elected officials to whom they can ask questions, share concerns, and petition the decisions of the superintendent. Several citizens have come to speak during public participation about the many issues our district has been facing over the last weeks, months, and even years, issues that affect the most precious things in our life, our children. The only option we have to bring awareness to certain issues and guarantee that we have been heard by this board is to come here and speak freely for 3 minutes. Please remember the oath you took and your obligation to the people that elected you. Will you continue to sit idly by while your colleagues violate constitutional law and break their oath of office? If not, will you speak up and hold them accountable? Thank you for your time. I look forward to your responses to my questions.
Thank you, Ms. Jeffcoat. Next, we have Ms. Dana Holmsley. She lives in Lexington and has a student that attends Lexington Elementaries.
Good evening. On November 22nd, I emailed the board as a follow-up on what happened to me during the November 16th school board meeting, only receiving a response from one board member. I'll be reading that email to you all tonight. These are quotes. Our minutes and our meetings are board's business. Please turn off her microphone. Ms. Holmsley, please sit down. Please have a seat, Ms. Rogers. You may not speak about specific individuals. We have chosen to prevent what you are trying to read in the email. All by the chairwoman. Board Chair Green and members of the board, 2 truths were brought to light during the last meeting. 1, the board doesn't allow citizens the right to free speech. And 2, Ms. Garris's email was not inadvertently omitted as stated in your request to the Attorney General, but purposely prevented from being included in the minutes by the board. How would this factor into the opinion of the Attorney General? During citizens' participation at the Tuesday, November 16, 2021 board meeting, I attempted to read an email that I obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. When I mentioned the superintendent, the board chair refused to let me finish speaking. When I asked why I couldn't read an email from a board member discussing why she's not given certain documents in regards to a bond referendum that we all voted on, the board's chair's response was, Ms. Holmsley, there's a lot more background on that situation and we are in the process of resolving it. Does the average Joe know that there is a lot more background to that email? No, we don't. But here is what we do know. The information in the email has everything to do with the district not giving access to financial information to an elected official to do their job. It has everything to do with the board not doing their job. It has everything to do with the current bond referendum. It does not have anything to do with employment. A conversation can't be had about the bond referendum without mentioning the CFO or COO. The Constitution allows public bodies the right to limit the time, place, and manner of a citizen's speech. When you kill a citizen's microphone and tell them that they can't email or call, or they can email or call the board because you don't like what they have to say, you fail to consider how the location of that speech is as protected as the content. Every time a citizen is at the podium discussing a matter within the board's authority and you shut them down, you have denied the citizen's right to free speech by not allowing them to reach their intended audience, viewers of the live stream and the audience in the room. Madam Chair, you are out of order. The chair's position is impartial, hence the reason the chair should vote last and only then when it affects the outcome. Your job is to facilitate meetings when remaining neutral. This responsibility of the board chair to exercise neutrality and impartiality seems to be lost on you. Shame on you for using your position as board chair to bully others, both citizens and board members. Moreover, you are way out of your lane when it comes to how you interact with district staff. Meeting and emailing staff prior to meetings so that you have a well-thought-out plan to rally against another board member per the emails received through FOIA is not only wrong but hypocritical. This email has wasted so much of your time and could have been included in the minutes months ago, and no one would have noticed. Has any board member responded to that email? Has anyone addressed Ms. Garris's concerns? Or are you all too busy misconstruing the intent of the email so that it won't be published in the minutes?
Thank you, Ms.
That will be
Holmsley.
part of the record in perpetuity.
Next, we have Ms. Katherine Reynolds. She lives in Lexington, and I believe she is homeschooling her students.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so where are all you now is the result of a personal vendetta against a fellow board member, which has manifested itself in excessive legal fees. First Amendment violations and a disdain for the citizens that dare to speak the truth. This board is out of control. You are thumbing your noses at the citizens who elected you. Instead of upholding the Constitution, you're fighting it. Based on what I've witnessed during the board meetings, the board chair's repeated censures of public comments, followed by one of the board members and board chairs' directive to cut the mic, while other board members sit silently, one can only surmise that each individual board member supports the decision to violate citizens' First Amendment rights. To recap, you interrupted Ms. Holmsley in this statement. I'm not sure why Dr. Little thought it would be a good idea to merge the roles of COO. Found the National School Board Association has this stated: refusing to allow the citizens to complain publicly at the school board meeting is about the superintendent inferred with a citizen's First Amendment right to act to speak about a matter over which the school board has jurisdiction. 6 seconds into Miss Rogers' statement, you were interrupted her. I appreciate that Mr. Salters has overseen and been part of managing $100 million worth.
Ms. Reynolds,
Yes, ma'am.
please refrain from speaking about individuals. Thank you.
Okay, I'll continue on then. School boards must, this is also from the National School Board Association. You can get it on the website. School boards must be extremely cautious about restricting what citizens say during the period set time for public comments at a school board meetings. Generally, if a school board is going to allow the public comment, it must allow the public to speak about any matter within the school board's authority. There was also interruptions of other people that have come in the past, months in the past, when emails were sent questioning your decision. You were told him that if you felt like his characterization of certain members was crossing the line, that he should share his comments with the board via email or phone, which, by the way, does not work. Refusing to allow citizens to complain publicly at the school board meeting about the superintendent interferes with the citizens' First Amendment right to speak about a matter which the school board has jurisdiction. I know you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Next, we have Ms. Lauren Pellington. She lives in Lexington. She has students that attend Pleasant Hill Elementary School, and she is a special ed teacher in our district.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm going to be reading off of this because it took me a while to just kind of collect my thoughts over the past couple of weeks. As it was noted, I am a teacher at White Knoll High School. I want to start by saying I have a great level of respect for the board and our superintendent in this district and all the staff here at the DO that assist daily. With that, I'm here not to list everything that has happened over the past couple of weeks within our district, but I'm here to implore you of something more to happen now. Usually I'm the first one to stand up here and talk to y'all in regards to things that have happened with the teachers and how teachers are feeling. When I found I was cut off by somebody who did not want to say their name online or in the media, that made me concerned even more so, and it spoke volumes. When it comes to safety, we shouldn't have to worry about our jobs being in jeopardy about speaking out about how we feel, which is why I'm here today. I was just asked actually in the hall about how the feeling actually is now, 2 weeks out after what had happened at White Knoll. My response started with a grimace, and then it ended with a not so great. We all appreciate each other at the school, and the administration has shown great support, both on a personal level, on a teacher level, but as well for the students. I lost my spot. Sorry. I personally have reached out to district as well as my admin because I am in a special needs classroom and it is hard in those instances to really make sure that everyone is safe. I ask you today as a board not to be complacent about how things are. The last few weeks here in the district have shown urgency. What spoke more than anything was the response that students had within the district after anything hit the news and after the mass shooting in Michigan. Why are we concerned about the pocket knives coming into board meetings? The first time I was here, 5 were taken before I even walked away. Why do we have to ask for these things to be safe, even just randomly? I come from a school district in Pennsylvania where I taught for 5 years before moving down here. Similar size and demographic as White Knoll. And they have a comm center specifically for all videos to be watched live. They have an SRO and 5 trained security guards to cover the halls. While we have 2 student monitors, and I cherish their assistance daily because there's other things that go on and they're all over the place, and I kind of, commend them for their 8,100 steps that they take. Our SROs are also amazing. There seems that there can be more done. As a teacher, as a parent, And more importantly, as a faculty voice, please review these safety policies and allow the community to assist.
Thank you, Ms. Pellington. Thank you. Next, we have Christine Nicole, is it Borner? I apologize for that. Borner. Ms. Borner lives in West Columbia and has students that attend White Knoll High School and White Knoll Elementary.
Thank you. I'm not going to have nearly enough time to discuss everything that I want to talk about because 3 minutes given to discuss the safety of my children is moot in the real world. I'll start off with, quote, WKHS is on lockdown while law enforcement searches for a student. We will update you often. We will not release students until lockdown is lifted, unquote. By the way, we did not receive any updates by the district or the school. But my main concern with this informational text message that we all received as parents is the lack of actual information. Insight to a mother's mind. When I received this text message and opened it, oh my God, what caused the lockdown? Is everyone safe? Has someone been hurt? Is it a threat or is it actual? Is it a mental break or are there weapons involved? Oh my God, what weapons are involved? Is it a close weapon or is it a close contact weapon that could cause damage, or is it something that needs to be used or that could be used long distance? Is it a gun, a knife, a bat, a taser, or is it a bow? What am I doing? You all left parents in the dark. You left parents to come up with their own scenarios, and that in itself is dangerous. I don't care how you all think adults should act or react in these situations, but humans and all animals come down to something that no law enforcement, school personnel, or psychological professionals can change or remove from our DNA, and that is the response factor to fear. We are either A, flight, B, fright, C, freeze. In my case, I wanted to fight. I wanted my child. I was beaten on the high school doors, demanding answers that no one was going to give me. How hard would it have been for a single staff member of the White Knoll High School to come out of that school, to calm parents, to mediate the situation, to let us know that children were safe, not my child, that our kids were safe. However, in this scenario, fear translated into me, and had a single adult in charge taken the time, all of 30 seconds to calm the situation, it would have been way different, and I wouldn't have feel the need to be here today. In all of this situation, when my son come home, that wasn't, by the way, brought to me. Like, I sat at the high school for almost 2 hours and watched every child be handed to their parent, except mine. Mine was put on the bus, and in the situation of in the midst of all this, I was told by one of your staff members that works for Lexington High School at White Knoll that I don't know where your son's at. I don't know. Why don't I text him? All this communication stuff with phones, I think is silly, but I don't know is what I was told. Plain lack of communication with the schools, lack of information, lack of care, lack of know-how.
Thank you, Ms. Borner. Next, we have Aaron Grenade. Mr. Grenade lives in Lexington and has a student that attends Red Bank Elementary.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time. My name is Aaron Grenade. I'm a dad of a 10-year-old in this district. I attended Lexington Elementary School, Lexington Intermediate School, Lexington Middle School, White Knoll Middle School, White Knoll High School, and Lexington High School. Not because I was transferred around because I was bad, but because we did move and I did some specialty classes like music theory, AP theory, between two different high schools. I'm also running for school board. I'm going to talk about 3 topics this evening. Number 1, transparency for about a minute. Number 2, questionable quarantine restrictions for private after-hours childcare on our school campuses for about 30 seconds, and then safety and security for about 1 minute. After many conversations with parents and taxpayers, some of which are in this room, AKA your voters, one thing has become very clear. This current board is no longer trusted in making wise financial, safety, or moral decisions for the students in this district. At this point, I feel safe to say that the district's money would be much better spent litigating a defense over sharing too much information rather than wasting our money consulting the Attorney General to find ways to hide information that's already in the public record. This money would also be happier spent fighting legal battles against moronic regulations from a Department of Health and Environmental Control who thinks they get to play God with my child's health. They are living up to that word, control, and you are letting them. I didn't vote for them. I didn't ask them for help raising or keeping my child safe, and you have gone right along with their overreach. One example of this overreach was an incident that occurred with my son. He may or may not have come in direct contact, no one can say for sure, with an AlphaBest after-school employee who tested positive for COVID the very first week of school, and my son was quarantined. This is a private third-party organization who had nothing to do with my son's public school attendance, apart from them renting the facility. If a church was meeting in the school, you certainly would think it was overreach to look into that church's attendance and say, oh, you were around this person, you're quarantined from public school. This is a very dangerous, slippery slope that has been allowed to happen, and you're leading this district toward the edge very, very fast. Also, mask mandates of any kind are now illegal in public schools. You cannot say, my child is quarantined, but he can come back early as long as he wears a mask. That's called against the law. And if you're acting like you're doing us a favor. The last 30 seconds I want to spend on school safety. I've spoken with numerous parents, taxpayers, and legislators. We are in a state of emergency. We do need to act now. We are not immune. Remember, Dylan Roof went to our high schools. We need to act now. We need metal detectors, but it's not enough. We need more SROs, but that's not enough. We need more bag checks, but that's not enough. We need parents to step up and check their kids' belongings, but that's not enough. We need to allow our teachers to conceal carry with training in the classrooms. Call your legislators, please. We need to get this done. My son's life is worth it, and his teachers' lives are worth it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grenade. Next, we have Ms. Rebecca Godfrey. She lives in Lexington, has students that attend Meadow Glen and Midway. Is that right?
Close.
Go ahead, take it away.
I'm asking again, will you cut ties with DHEC? Now that year 2 of this is almost over, it's time for us to distance ourselves from their overreach. Do you realize that you have allowed DHEC to create a society of privilege in our schools, and you, the board, have done nothing to stop it? Students need to have the jab in order to fully participate in school society. Jabbed equals no quarantine, equals no missed school, equals better education. Jabbed equals no missed games, equals more practice time, more scholarship opportunities. Can you see how discriminatory this is? All for a jab that's been a complete failure. It does not stop transmission or infection. In fact, the countries with the highest vaccine rate have the highest COVID rates. All this shot has ever shown is who will comply when put under enough pressure. It has not even come close to stopping COVID like it promised. It has harmed 1 million people, yet you are acting like it's still a solution. I talk to a lot of parents. Do you know what they say? We decided to get Johnny vaccinated so he wouldn't have to miss a football game or quarantine anymore. We couldn't miss any more work, so we just decided to have him get it. It's not because they had any fear about the virus. It was to participate in school society, to not get excluded. Their child was at 0% risk from dying from COVID, and now they face a 200% increased risk for developing heart problems and a host of other issues because you allowed this discriminatory system to infiltrate our schools. You should have had no reward or penalty for the jab. Instead, you let a government agency which has been paid millions of dollars by the federal government, who wants a jab in every arm every 6 months, to decide what happens in our schools. When jabbed kids start having major issues from the vax, you will bear much of the blame because you laid down and let DHEC take over. Now Lexington One is partnering even closer with DHEC to offer testing sites for free. We all know free comes with strings attached. How much data are they mining from all of us? Where are they sending the swabs with our kids' DNA on it? What country are the tests coming from? I think these questions need to be answered because now we are indebted to them. And now, being double jabbed isn't even good enough. Pfizer is making $1,000 per second off of these shots. No wonder they want a booster. Will you require a booster soon for a kid to be considered fully vaxxed? Can you see where this is headed? It is never going to end until you stand up to DHEC. Lexington One Board, you have allowed yourselves to be ensnared and have become accomplices to this discrimination through your silence. Do something. Because you have not stood up against this, you have put thousands of kids at risk, kids who only got the shot so they could fully participate in school society. End your partnership with DHEC. Stop rewarding kids who have gotten the vax. End contact tracing and stop quarantining healthy kids because of their personal choices.
Thank you, Ms. Godfrey. Next, we have Ms. Katie McCown. She lives in Lexington and has students at Midway, Meadow Glen Middle, and River Bluff.
Members of the board, I would like to address some of you, since you're not all here, on a few topics tonight. Dr. Little, for the first time, I actually appreciated your Wednesday meeting. I absolutely agree that our kids have been put at risk in many of our schools. And as a parent with 3 children in 3 different schools, I can tell you that I send each of them off each day somewhat terrified of what phone call I'm going to receive. My son, even shared with me actually night before last, as he was doing the dishes, that he had a nightmare, got him up in the middle of the night, that there was a shooter in River Bluff and that his girlfriend was shot and killed. That just broke my heart. Where I want to align here is that while I appreciate you speaking about safety, I think with 100% certainty, I believe these random acts of violence have a direct correlation with your ridiculous quarantine policies. I believe an idle mind is the devil's playground, and that is where you put these kids when you send them home healthy, with nothing to do, with no help from teachers to be on their devices while their parents are at work. And this must stop. And if you want to pass the blame yet again to DHEC, like Rebecca said, we should never have let them in our schools to dictate their every whim, change their mind daily like they like to do. As a group, I would like to say to Dr. Powers, Dr. Guyton, Dr. Anderson, Dr. Oswald, or Mr. Oswald, Mr. Anderson, I would encourage you to not run for re-election. I honestly don't know what you contribute. You never contact us. When we contact you, you don't email us back. You don't reach out to us. You don't, communicate with us at all. And I just think that's wrong. To Jada, all I have to say is I wish we had more of you up here. You really work for the people. The parents of this district respect you very highly. I know personally when my son went missing last month because he was dropped off in the wrong neighborhood off the bus and wandered the streets knocking on doors for 30 minutes. You took my frantic call and you were there for me and you helped me, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Kathy, thank you for working hard as well. I know you're fighting for a lot behind the scenes, and I truly feel you are an honest person of integrity, and I appreciate you. I would just like to say we have a lot of work to do between Anne Marie's emails and finding out where all the money goes, putting COVID behind us, and clearly the boosters are coming. The vaccine doesn't work. We need to stop talking about all of that. So let's move forward.
Thank you, Ms. McCown. All right, thank you again to everyone who came to speak to us tonight. Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. The sign-ups ended at 7 o'clock. All right, it's on the sign outside. And it was also in the announcement for our meeting.